This Liberal government's own housing agency has given up on the concept of housing affordability. They reported that Canada needs to build 480,000 homes a year to restore affordability, something the TD Bank says is impossible. Earlier this week, the latest housing minister boasted that he was on pace for 280,000 starts this year, and he plans for 500,000 a year. In the GTA and the Lower Mainland, the bulk of our housing market, starts have gone off a cliff. So the question is simple. If we are to take the minister at his word, where are the other 200,000 units coming from?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Listen, unlike everything that we're hearing from the other side of the House, we are working very hard. There is an action plan for affordability, which is at the heart of Build Canada Homes. We're going to build more social housing to support low and middle income families. We have the most ambitious plan in decades. We've committed to build twice as much housing, and we will do that with Canadian innovation, with Canadian labour, with Canadian materials. That is how we are building the Canada of tomorrow, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Parry Sound, Muskoka.
Well, it sounds like more bureaucracy. I'll give you an example of Ottawa bureaucracy. Here in this city of Ottawa, the federal government closed their training centre. 9 years later, they finally sold that training centre to their own federal housing developer at market price. Then it took the federal developer 5 years and 79 different reports at the City Planning Department to deal with the neighbours and the local Liberal MP who tried to block the redevelopment. Construction finally started, so 16 years for the federal government to turn their land using their developer into 1,100 desperately needed homes. Why does this government think that more bureaucracy is the solution?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Government Transformation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And our new government is committed to ensuring that federal procurement is conducted in an open, fair and transparent manner. When it comes to the situation in question, Mr. Speaker, I would point to the investment that our government made most recently through the Housing Accelerator Fund here in the City of Ottawa. This is our commitment to work with municipalities to ensure that we get the housing built that we need. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington, Tyendinaga.
Under this government's watch, the housing crisis has reached an unprecedented precipice, and no amount of recycled ministers will hide the fact that this Liberal government is responsible. The CMHC's own numbers have declared the death of housing affordability across this nation. And this government's solution? Appoint a minister who, as Mayor of Vancouver, was responsible for one of the worst housing and affordability epidemics we have ever seen. Mr. Speaker, will they just simply stop talking about the housing crisis that exploded under their watch and actually do something about it?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Housing.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There is a housing crisis. This is why the government is getting back in the business of building. This is why we will power innovation with modular, prefabricated home. We will do it by reducing red tape, by increasing efficiency and streamlining operation. We will do it at a very fast speed. This is what we promise Canadians, and this is what we will deliver. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
The member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington and Tyendinaga.
Mr. Speaker, the best time for action was now, not 10 years ago, now. Mr. Speaker, they have consistently realized that with responsibility comes an extraordinarily amount of... I'm going to start this again. Whoa! Mr. Speaker, given the fact that this government agency said Canada needs to double down with construction to restore affordability, will this government get out of the way and recognize...
The Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'd like to invite the colleague to read the Liberal platform. We made major commitments to change government operations. We got to work right after the election, and the implementation of Build Canada Homes is going to facilitate and accelerate the construction of housing. That's what Canadians need. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Vernon, Lake Country, Monashee.
Mr. Speaker, in communities across the North Okanagan, families are being pushed out of the housing market. Young people can't afford to buy, and seniors are being forced out of the communities that they themselves built. Meanwhile, this Liberal government still has no budget, no plan, no urgency. While young families and seniors are begging for the Liberals to get housing built, this Prime Minister, much like the last one, is more focused on political optics than shovels in the ground. When will this Liberal government stop dragging its feet, deliver a budget, and finally take responsibility for the housing crisis it helped create?
The Government House Leader.
Speaker, we came to office and the first thing we did was take the GST off of new homes for first-time home buyers. This government has proposed a series of measures beginning with the National Housing Strategy back in 2018. These measures have been measures, this member was not here, but they have opposed every single one, whether it's affordable housing, whether it's social housing, every single housing initiative put forward by this government and every single plan that my honourable colleague described, they are against. Where is their housing plan, Mr. Speaker?
The member for Flamborough, Glanbrook, Brent North.
Under these Liberals, Canadians are being forced to skip meals to just pay the rent. A new report from Royal LePage shows that 39% of Ontario renters are cutting back on food and essentials just to stay housed. Even the CMHC is waving the white flag, admitting its own housing targets aren't possible under this Liberal government. This is what failure looks like. Unaffordable housing, stalled construction, and Canadians falling further behind. With alarm bells ringing all over the place, when will the Liberals finally admit that their housing plan isn't working?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, when you exploit people's hardship and vulnerability for political gain, when you base your political hopes on the failure of the economy, and when you dismiss the potential of Canadian innovation to solve the challenges that we face, as Conservatives do every day in this House, you're not just betting against our government, Mr. Speaker, you're betting against Canadians. On this side of the House, we'll bet on Canadians every single day. Why? Because we know they will overcome the greatest challenges we face.
The member for Yellowhead.
Years of poor forest management contributed to fires that devastated a third of the homes in Jasper last year. Parks Canada red tape, controlled by this Liberal government, is delaying construction of new homes. Their process has just exacerbated the housing crisis in the region. Despite the Liberal government allocating $160 million, their solution seems to be treating Jasperites like inmates and house them in ATCO trailers like a remote work camp. Is this Liberal solution to housing shortages to put people in sea camps for storage? There you go.
The Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, they're now really reaching. They are accusing the government of not living up to its responsibilities for conservation or responsibilities to national parks in this country. This government has prided itself as coming to the aid of communities, whether it be at housing assistance and any other kind of assistance. We've had a devastating wildfire season, provoked in no small part due to the climate change that we're experiencing, Mr. Speaker. This government will continue to respond to Canadians' needs for housing and for good management.
The Deputy.
The Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, it's now been documented by Radio Canada. In Chaudière-Appalaches, the price of homes has exploded by 46% since 2021. 46%! That's a huge increase since 2021, Mr. Speaker. It doesn't make any sense. I asked a question to the Minister of Housing about the most important program for homes in his department. He wasn't able to answer it, and he didn't even know what the program was. That's really concerning. Mr. Speaker, I'm new here, but I'd like to know, does the Minister of Housing actually take care of housing? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Housing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As my colleague mentioned earlier, we have a national strategy for housing. We are going to double the construction of new homes. And to my colleague, we have an agreement, a historic agreement with Quebec on the Housing Accelerator Fund. We've put $900 million into that. Quebec has done the same. There are homes that are being built. There are real people living in those new homes right now. So we are acting. We've already started acting. We will continue to do that. As I said, innovation, Canadian lumber, and Canadian workers. We have a plan, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, once again and once again, empty words, Mr. Speaker. I've been here for 4 weeks, and people have elected us to ask questions, Liberals, to hold them to account for the people of Beauce. They're not answering our questions. They're laughing in our faces. That's a lack of respect. We're trying to be polite. We're trying to be respectful, but they still answer us with the same empty words, Mr. Speaker. It's disappointing. The price of homes continues to go up. The Minister of Housing is supposed to be building more homes. It's easy, Mr. Speaker. Is the Minister of Housing able to do his job, yes or no? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Well, I would like to thank my colleague for the question. His questions are pertinent, and our goal is to work with him through, among other things, Build Canada Homes, so that we can help companies in Beauce that are building prefabricated homes and that can help meet the minister's goal and the government's goal for housing. We want to work with them, so it'll be a pleasure for me to work with him. We need to create jobs. We need to build homes.